Hello, how you doing? As promised, of course, we are here to share with you what we've learned in a couple of weeks. Remember, I told you about a club we are having as our friends, whereby we usually read books. So we decided we should go back to the very first book we started with, just to start, tujikumbushe pia. So we started with a certain book about our thoughts, and it's a book that really helped us in the process because we really wanted to get our minds right before interacting with any books. We realized that no matter how many books we read, or no matter how great a book is, if it finds a mind which is not ready or receptive to the kind of knowledge, we'll be wasting a lot of time. So we decided to start with something for our minds to get it right. And so that's where we started. It's a book about the importance of understanding your mind, your mindset, how to operate. And I'll go direct to the points, direct to the lesson that we learned. And the first lesson that we ever learned from that book. Okay, let me start by giving you a procedure on how we read. So we usually journal. And today I have my notebook here. I'll show you how we journal. We journal important points. So we have the lessons right there. So the first lesson that we ever learned from that book was our minds are like a cultivated piece of land in all conducive weather, when the weather is right. Watu wa ushago tunajua when unataka kupanda mahindi ama unataka kupanda kitu chochote, you first prepare your land, you till the land, and then during the rainy season. So our minds are like that. They are like cultivated land, whereby this land waits for the farmer to sow any seed for it to accommodate any plantation that will come from that. Mind you, if the farmer fails to plant anything, there will be weeds. Of course, the farm will allow any other weed to grow, same as our minds. So our minds doesn't have that ability to detect or maybe to differentiate between a positive and a negative thoughts. Whatever you feed your mind, or if hata ukiamua tu ukae, yani wewe ukae tu, you don't want to give your mind anything, it will still pick something. And whatever is speaking maybe will be harmful to you. So that was lesson number one. Your mind does not have the ability to pick what is right and what is wrong. If it had, tungekuwa fiti sana, because the mind could just be selecting the positive and the good things, but no. So after realizing that, we went further, and the book was telling us about how everything is somehow, everything in the material world, it's somehow spiritual. And spiritual, that means interact with your mind. Let us mention anything that you have, material thing. We have phones, we have vehicles, we have money, especially money. It's spiritual. It's the book says that everything that is material first appear or first occurs as a thought and in the spiritual world. So we had an example, of course, we usually discuss with the friends. We don't just rely on the books alone. We try to throw in some knowledge here and there. So we realized that money, one of the group members suggested that, you know what, money is 99% spiritual and 1% physical. The money we have, the paper and the coins, those are the checks and whatever, those are 1% of money. Money exists in our minds. It's a thought. Is spiritual. We'll interact with that later on a certain book about finances and money, psychology of money, let me just say. So we realize that the mentality, we have a billionaire. We all know that we have millionaires and billionaires, coming down to the people who don't have money. So an example was given that right now, if you give someone who has never touched 1 million, if you give that person 1 million, he's not a millionaire. But if you give 1 million to a person who has some millions in the bank, that person is a millionaire. So what's the difference? The difference is the mentality. So this person who has never touched 1 million, the greatest amount of money they've ever touched, let's say, is 100,000. This person has a mentality of budgeting or maybe playing in the league of 100,000 shillings. So high chances are he will spend 900,000 in a very confused way. And then when the money reaches 100,000, that's when now they start reasoning out. They start now, hey, I need to invest. I need to pay my rent. I need to pay school fees for my kids, because the mentality is set at 100,000. So unless this person changes their mind and mindset, they put themselves in that level and handle 1 million, they'll never be. Unlike to a person who has some millions, who has millions in the bank, this person, the first thing they get that 1 million, is like change to them. So what do? They think of investing. They're investing the money and doing all other things. So by investing, they'll get more money. And that's how they end up being millionaires. So everything occurs in the mind. So I'll give you an example of a friend of mine who won 2 million abruptly. He never expected the money. The money just came. And when I say a friend, he's a friend of mine mwenye. Okay, akwa to him, I think the greatest amount of money alikuwa ameshika haikuwa imepita 100,000. It was roughly under 100,000. So 2 million imekuja, and he shared this story by the way on X. If you're on X, maybe uliona. So 2 million is there. He's totally confused. The true story, because alikuwa ananisha mpaka M-Pesa. He used to pay wajamu wa motorbike, anawapatia 500 place anafaa kwenda na 50 bob. 5 na yeye akunywangi pombe. Is not a okay. Tuseme aje, he's not an extravagant person. So but when the 2 million came, mtu andudhi 500, and then akachukua dokata kapatia mama yake like a quarter of it, and then the rest kamwaniaje, nimeteseka hii dunia vibaya sana, I have suffered, so what to do? I won't go to Mombasa with all this money. So he took 800,000. So he took some friends with him, wakakuja wakaenda Mombasa, and then they had fun. So alikuwa anashana niambia within 2 days alikuwa amespend 800,000 ikaisha. And then akaona I still had some money like 700 left. Akaona hapa sasa ninaoma, wacha niende nyumbani niende nijipange. So they went back, and then he bought a motorbike. He bought some 2 motorbikes. Aka employ the cousins, family members. One of the cousins akapotea kwanza, akaenda Uganda with the motorbike. So he was left with 1 motorbike with some money. He spent all this money. Miraculously alijipata amemaliza kila kitu. Aka end up kuitisha mamake whatever was left. Na alikuwa amemwambia amembless naye. So that's when now we realize that indeed money is spirit. Money exists first in the spiritual world before it comes physical. So the reason why we are saying we are giving all this is just a background information before we introduce our book. The book that we read there, the book that we started with, is called As a Man Thinketh, as you can see. It's a very nice book, a very simple book to understand. It's just a guide, a manual. We'll be sharing more on some lesson there on how your thoughts are related with your destiny, circumstance, serenity, your body. How do you relate with your own body? So that book talks about that. So we'll be coming with that more, because I know I don't want to put up with a lot of details right here until we get to the serious business now, whereby we'll be having and discussing something about the book. But this juncture, at least you know what the book talks about, so you can still get it and then get to know. So see you on the next episode. Yeah, thank you for always listening. And if you think this message is so valuable to you, you can share with a friend, you can subscribe, and also you can comment down there with thoughts and something you learned from the book. Sawa, tupatane next time. Yeah.